If you're running an exterior cleaning company that is doing less than $1 million a year, this video is for you. I work with over 120 exterior cleaning companies from all different sizes. One's doing $100,000 a year all the way up to $10 million a year. But I see the same pattern over and over again with the businesses that are stuck under 7 figures or under $1 million. And they think that these businesses that are doing $1 million plus, they think they're luckier, they think they have more money, therefore that's why they're in the position that they're in. And that could be further from the truth. It's just that these $1 million companies have these 5 key habits and mindset shifts that smaller companies just don't necessarily have. And so by the end of this video, if you want to get to that level of being a $1 million exterior cleaning company and beyond, then you'll understand what those habits are, how to apply them so you can grow consistently, even in your slower months. So let's go ahead and get started with the first mindset shift and habit, which is going to go ahead and be know your numbers. $1 million companies make decisions based off facts, not feelings. And the businesses, a lot of the time that are doing under $1 million, they'll make a lot of their decisions in their business based off of their feelings. For example, our clients will reach out to us and say, hey, it feels slow this month. And I'll say, okay, then how many leads do you need this month? What other marketing channels are you doing? How many leads did you close this month? What is your close rate this month? And what was your average ticket for the leads that you did close? And guess what? They don't know these answers. And if you don't know these answers, then guess what? You're not able to know if this is going to be a marketing problem, a sales problem, or even an operations problem. Because if I were to go ahead and I were to ask a 7-figure or $1 million exterior cleaning business, these questions, they can tell me exactly how many leads they need each week, what their close rate is, what their average cost per lead and cost per customer is, their average job size, and how much that customer is worth to them over the life cycle of when they stay with them as a business, which is called customer lifetime value. And so tracking these numbers gives you power. It turns I think into I know. And so when you know your numbers, you can scale with confidence instead of guessing your way through every season. Because majority of the time when it comes to these businesses that are doing under 7 figures in their exterior cleaning company, it's usually not even a marketing problem whenever they're slow. It's going to be a sales or operations problem. And so the numbers that you need to know, I will go ahead and tell you those right now. So you need to know every single month the number of leads that you're getting. You'd be surprised by how many guys aren't tracking the leads that they're getting from their website, from the yard signs, their door hangers, and other marketing materials that they're going ahead or marketing things that they're doing. The second thing that you need to go ahead and know is the number of closed jobs. Because if you know how many leads that you're getting and you know how many of those leads you're closing, then you have your close rate. So for example, if you got 100 leads and you close 40 of them, that's a 40% close rate. At that point, you also want to know your average ticket size, like how much on average is a customer spending in your business? Like how much are they spending? So you might have an average ticket size of $500 at that point. And so if you close 40 leads and you have an average ticket of $500, that's $20,000. Bam, know your numbers. And so you also need to know, customer acquisition costs. So how much does it take for you to acquire a customer? Because if you know how much it takes to acquire a customer, and then you also know your customer lifetime value, then you'll be able to make informed decisions. So once again, guys, number of leads, number of closed jobs, close rate, average ticket size, customer acquisition cost, and customer lifetime value, which is essentially how long are clients staying your client. That's basically what customer lifetime value is. Because the next thing that I want to go ahead and talk about in the second mindset shift, because it goes directly into this, is going to end up being these companies understand marketing life cycles. So $1 million companies don't judge success in 30 days. They judge it by quarters and seasons. So, for example, in exterior cleaning, it's a very seasonal business. And so that means that in certain periods of time, you're not going to be as profitable. So we know in the summertime, for majority of exterior cleaning businesses, whether you're in Florida or whether you're in North Carolina, it's going to go ahead and be slow in that summertime. And these companies know that life cycle, so they're not always going to anticipate their numbers always being the best, right? But many small owners will panic in month 1, or they'll panic in certain seasons. So for example, if they start an ads campaign because they're slow in June, then what they'll go ahead and do is they'll judge that campaign off of just 30 days, and they'll be like, well, this doesn't work because I didn't get any leads like that. And it's like, yeah, It's one of the slowest. Well, June isn't one of the slowest months, but let's just say August. August is one of the slower months. So you need to understand that exterior cleaning is seasonal. Some months are lean, some others explode. So if you go ahead and you just cut off a marketing campaign too early, you might miss out on the compounding return that happens when campaigns build data, trust, and momentum. And let me give you an example of that. So, for example, if you start running a campaign in February, and we'll do it in like 3 months. Let's say you're running a campaign, a 3-month campaign, and let's just say it was for like Google Ads, and it was in February, March, and April that you did it. In February, you might lose some money. A lot of people just, unless you're in Florida or some other area that's warm in February, a lot of people aren't going to close. You might lose like you could invest like $2,000 and get a couple of clients, but actually end up losing money. So let's just say, for example, you lost $1,000. You invested $2,000, but you lost $1,000. Most guys would be like, man, this does not work at all. And then month 2, you might break even in March. You might even break even because in some areas like in Ohio and New York, it's a little bit colder. So you might break even in month 2. Then in month 3, which is April, you might explode. You might get from that same campaign that you're getting, that you're investing $1,500 into, you might profit $15,000. You might land some very big jobs. You might be acquiring new customers. And so over those 3 months, you might have actually had a net gain of $13,000 from just those ads that you were running. But if you would have turned them off in February because you said, in these 30 days it didn't work because you didn't understand the marketing life cycle, then guess what? You would have missed out on that compounding momentum. And this even happened with one of our clients that's in North Carolina. We started running their ads in February, and they're a 7-figure business, so they understood the life cycle. They actually lost money with us in February. Then in March, they did actually break even. And then in, April, everything just broke loose, and they actually made $24,000 in that April from the ads that we were running for them. They actually had to cut it off because it was just way too much for them. And so if they would have just cut off that campaign in February when it barely had any data or any momentum, then they wouldn't be able to get that month 3 where they got that $24,000 month. And so you need to understand the marketing life cycles that happen for every single business, especially for exterior cleaning. So you need to know that for your area, the marketing lifestyle, or the life cycle, I should say. Because that brings me to my next point as well, which is going to be understanding customer lifetime value. Because one of the biggest advantages that you have in the exterior cleaning industry is that you can visit the same property multiple times a year. Most home services like junk removal, you only see a customer maybe once a year, like pest control. You spray their house once in the summertime and then you never see them again, if you're doing mosquito control. And so with exterior cleaning, guess what? You can wash a home in the springtime. You can clean the windows in the summer. You can clean the gutters in the fall, and then you can hang lights in the wintertime. At that point, guess what? You can get one customer and go to their property 4 different times and extract a lot of value just from that one customer. And so even with that, let's just say that it cost you $200 to acquire one customer. Most exterior cleaning businesses would be like, oh my gosh, it cost me $200 to acquire a customer. But let's say your average ticket is $600. Even one visit is still profitable, but some guys might be like, hey, it's costing me like $100 to $200 to acquire this customer. I might need to turn this marketing off. But if your average ticket is $600, and let's say that customer stays with you for 4 years, that's $2,400 in lifetime value from that $200 investment. And so that is what these $1 million companies understand. They understand the customer lifetime value. So even if they're not the most profitable in acquiring the customer on that first time, they do understand that they can have the systems on the back end, right, that will make them a customer for multiple years. So therefore, that customer will actually be a profitable customer over the course of 4 to 5 years. And so 7-figure companies understand this. That's why they don't panic if a campaign breaks even. And they know they will end up, they know in the back end that customer will pay for itself many times over. And so they have systems built on the back end that are automated reminders, seasonal follow-ups, loyalty discounts. And you'll have certain packages that you just have, or you'll have like reoccurring services. And so this client will become a multi-year asset, not just a one-time sale. And that segues me into my next point, which is the 4th point that I'm going to go ahead and say is a lot of these businesses, once they actually acquire the customer, and the reason why they have these back-end systems is because they leverage their CRM and customer list. And so smaller businesses rely only on new leads. But $1 million companies turn their existing customer base into reoccurring cash flow. And so that is one of the biggest factors that I understand that these $1 million companies are doing that these smaller companies are not doing. So for example, what is a CRM? A CRM is a customer relationship manager. It's going to be your jobbers, your marquetes, your house call pros of the world. So let's say you had 2,000 contacts or people in your CRM that are your customers. You sent them an email and only 10% of them opened it. That's 200 people. And out of those 200 people, let's just say that only 30% of those people expressed interest. That would be 60 people then that expressed interest overall. And then if you close half of them, that's 30 jobs from just one email blast. And that one email blast and those 30 jobs came with zero ad spend. So what these other $1 million companies are doing is that zero ad spend that they got from acquiring those 30 leads or those 30 jobs is, guess what? They take that free cash flow, and I wouldn't say free, but they take that cash flow and they reinvest it into new marketing, whether that's Google ads, Facebook ads, yard signs, salespeople. They go ahead and do that, which brings them new leads, which grows their CRM or their customer database. And guess it's like a flywheel effect, because they'll market consistently, whether they break even or they make profit with that. They add those customers to the CRM, they re-engage those customers, they have the back-end system, they generate those repeat jobs, and they reinvest those profits into new campaigns, and they keep growing their database. The more that you grow your database, the bigger impact that you have, and you'll start to see that you're not going to be as slow, and you'll be able to predict your marketing, and you'll be able to go ahead and create jobs on your calendar at a drop of a dime. Because if you go from a CRM of 2,000 and then the next year it's 3,000 and the next year it's 5,000, and then after 4 or 5 years you might have a CRM of 8,000 contacts. And then when you send out those same email blasts, guess what ends up happening? Or you have those automated reminders, or when you have those back-end systems, you have more leverage because you have more people in your database. And so that's what these bigger companies know. They know that they value when they get a new customer because they can keep growing their database and remarket to them. And when they remarket to them, they can create jobs on the fly. When they create jobs on the fly, they can go ahead and reinvest those profits. And so the last and fifth point that I want to go ahead and make about these 7-figure or $1 million serial cleaning companies is they play for market share. So 7-figure businesses think bigger. They understand that every customer they win is one that their competitor loses. So they're okay, once again, breaking even or even losing slightly up front, because they know that once a customer is in their ecosystem, they'll make money long term through lifetime value and through remarketing. Meanwhile, the smaller companies, they say, well, that's not my type of customer, or they were too cheap. But that's because the truth is that the other company had a better follow-up system. They had a better sales process. So therefore, that better follow-up system, that better sales process built more trust, and those better systems usually wins that customer for years on end. So every new client increases their market share and decreases yours. That's why the gap between large and small businesses is so wide. And they always wonder, how come those guys are still getting business even when it's kind of slower? Because it's not magic, guys. It's math and mindset. And so you have to understand that. So here's the full formula the $1 million serial cleaning companies follow. They know their numbers. They know I can make these moves. They always know their next step. They understand the marketing life cycle. So they understand when the slow seasons are, when the slow seasons aren't, right? Because they have the numbers to back it up and know. And so they understand marketing life cycle, and they also understand that every month is not going to be super profitable every single time. They understand they're not going to always be able to get a 4 to 5x every single month. Just because April got a 4 to 5x doesn't mean that August is going to get the same thing too. They maximize customer lifetime value. Or they understand, customer lifetime value. So they understand the value of a customer over the long term. So that's what they understand. And so since they understand that, they leverage their CRM. So that's the fourth point. They leverage their CRM. And so when they leverage their CRM, they're able to go ahead and remarket to them, retain them. And even if they broke even that first time with that client, they still end up profitable because they always are leveraging, and they're always going ahead and calling up past customers or existing customers in their database, and they reinvest those profits into new marketing as well to acquire more people that they're going to add to their database. And they understand when they do that, guess what? They're getting more and more market share. And the reason why they're getting more market share is you guys have to really think about it. If customers every single time knew about or if customers were so loyal, there wouldn't be new people always looking for new companies every single year. That just would not happen. And so they understand that market share. And so they understand that there's going to always be new customers in the market because smaller operators usually don't have these back-end systems, and they're the ones that are losing, that market share. And these million-dollar companies understand that. So it's not magic, guys. It's no magic ads. It's not the money. It's no secret hack. They just have clear systems, consistent tracking, and long-term thinking. So exterior cleaning gives you more opportunities than any home service. And you need to go ahead and take advantage of that. So if you want help setting up these systems, so you can scale like these 7-figure companies do, just click the link below and schedule a free lead flow acceleration session with me and my team. We'll break down your numbers, we'll analyze your market, and show you exactly what your next best move should be. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.